goes against the laws of God and demand a cake or photography for a homosexual wedding. Can Tim Cook really believe that his focus only against Christians is tolerant, wholesome, freedom-loving human behavior? Yet, on the other hand, according to a recent World Magazine report, Mr. Cook traveled to the Middle East to try and nail down deals on behalf of Apple, where homosexual activity is outlawed and punished either through hanging, stoning, being tossed from tops of buildings, or other forms of torture. The recently signed religious protection law in Indiana was a mere reflection of the federal law passed under President Bill Clinton in 1993. Like I said earlier, the protests and angst over the religious protection law is not at all about protecting victims from inequality or maltreatment of any kind. The deafening silence over the many thousands of monthly victims of Muslim-led abuse is proof of the hypocrisy of those who say that they are so concerned about inequality. A dead victim of Muslim hatred is evidence of inequality. An individual unable to persuade someone to bake a cake that is symbolically going against their religious belief is not inequality. Wake up, my fellow Americans. The rights you lose could be your own. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
Hey, this is Ben Armstrong, and I never miss a page of the Edwards Notebook. And you shouldn't miss me either, Sundays at noon. See ya!
You can catch all our show archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you'll get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted financial expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known and syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time, firsthand, from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Bob airs live every Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live, or you can choose any one of his archive shows at blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live. That's blogtalkradio.com/Robert Cardoso Live. For complete and honest commentary on politics, finances, and culture, check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Good evening, America, and those listening around the world. It's time for the Conservative Syndicate with your host, John Matthews, self-ordained, politically incorrect, mad prophet of the airways. The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most knowledgeable activists and pundits today that together seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement with those seeking the truth regarding the similarities and differences between the religion of politics and the politics of religion.
Well, by getting on Larry King and telling everybody I'm a Christian and I wasn't raised in a Muslim home. Americans have Muslims in their families or have lived in a Muslim-majority country. I know because I am one of them. As a boy, I spent several years in Indonesia and heard the call of the azan at the break of dawn. But I have known Islam on 3 continents before coming to the region where it was first revealed. That experience guides my conviction. And lest we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ.
At what point does a baby get human rights, in your view?
Well, I think that whether you're looking at it from a theological perspective or a scientific perspective, answering that question with specificity, is above my pay grade. I've got 2 daughters, 9 years old and 6 years old. I'm going to teach them, first of all, about values and morals. But if they make a mistake, I don't want them punished with a baby. As long as we've got to fight to make sure women have access to quality, affordable health care, and as long as we've got to fight to protect a woman's right to make her own choices about her own health, I want you to know that you've also got a president who's going to be right there with you, fighting every step of the way. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. God bless you. Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is. We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
And now, your host, John Matthews.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to Hour 2 here on the Conservative Syndicate. I am your host, John Matthews, mad prophet of the airways, on a mission from God, and that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We do that on this show by espousing the conservative gospel and exposing the lameness of the leftist agenda. And right now, as promised, we have with us KrisAnne Hall. KrisAnne Hall is an attorney and former prosecutor who travels the country teaching on the Constitution and the history that surrounds these founding documents. She's also the host of the KrisAnne Hall Show. And Joe Hakos, my co-host here from Dry Report, had asked her to come on and discuss the letter that she sent out to Trey Gowdy. And we also had a couple of things that lined up that we wanted to ask Kris. How are you doing tonight, Kris?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. Can we call you Kris, or is KrisAnne all one name?
KrisAnne.
Okay, that works.
My husband's name is Chris. So.
Okay. So we'll refer to you as KrisAnne. And having said that, Joe, you have the con.
Oh, well, thanks, John. Well, hey, KrisAnne, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So you've been out traveling today. Can you tell some folks a little bit about yourself other than just the usual stuff that we just hit right now?
Yeah, well, I travel around the country and I teach the history of the Constitution, not that began in 1787, but that began in 1041. And then I show where our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, our Bill of Rights all came from over those 700 years. And then I also teach the Bill of Rights, 1 through 10. I'll show you where they came from, what they are mean, how they're supposed to be applied, how we're doing it wrong, and the designed plan that our framers put in place for us to do it right. And I teach average about 265 teachings in 22 states every year. I teach middle school, high school students, and I teach a whole gambit from middle school, high school to state legislators and sheriff's offices. So we do a lot of teaching. We're not just preaching to the choir, and I'll teach anybody that wants me to teach.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you're keeping yourself pretty busy, but I think the most important thing is you're out there teaching our young people. Us old folks probably could use a little bit of it, but the most important thing I would think would be our young people, since they are the future of our nation.
Yeah, well, I've written 5 books, too, and 2 of them are geared towards the young people. But if the old people don't know the truth, they're not going to be able to identify the lies that are being taught to our kids. And the kids don't know any better. You know, what's interesting is I go in and I teach them, and they're enthusiastic about hearing the truth. When I teach the college students, they get angry.
Oh.
I had one young lady get angry at me and shake her fist at me. She said, "Why have we been lied to our entire education?" And it occurred to me at that moment that our young people don't wake up every day with the thought of how many lies can I learn today? when in fact they want to know the truth. They've been taught the lies to be presented as truth.
Now, that's a very sad statement right there, that they've been lied to like that. That's unbelievable. But I can believe it. KrisAnne, let me play a little bit. One of the reasons why I brought you on. You sent an open letter to Trey Gowdy, and I believe this is what probably inspired you to write that. So let's. I got a little 18 seconds right here of Mr. Gowdy.
Okay.
My committee, which has a more limited jurisdiction, we, number one, lack the authority under House rules to subpoena the server. The House, as an entity, it's an open legal question, but most experts believe that the House could subpoena that server.
So, KrisAnne, this is what I guess inspired you to write a letter. Can you tell us a little bit about the letter that you wrote to Mr. Gowdy?
Yeah, I'm really just disgusted and fed up with all the talk. I'm tired of all these congressional hearings. They're nothing but dog and pony shows where they step up and they bark a lot but never bite. And the bottom line is, when they come down to it, they never, ever do anything about it. I mean, we talk about the Benghazi hearing, but how many other hearings have there been? We have the Fast and Furious hearing, which, by the way, our Congress bipartisanly found Eric Holder guilty of criminal contempt.
Yes.
And yet they allowed him to remain Attorney General for 3 more years.
Yeah.
And then most people don't know this. We had a congressional hearing where we called the EPA on the carpet and made them testify as to their data on carbon emissions from diesel fuel. And during the congressional hearing, the EPA admitted that the data that they had produced to create the regulations to fine people, to destroy businesses over carbon fuel emissions was data they fabricated because they never even did the research that we paid them to do. And Congress did nothing. And we've had Benghazi hearing after Benghazi hearing after Benghazi hearing, and Trey Gowdy has been the loudest barker of them all. And what really, really bothers me is the fact that because he has barked so much, so many people have so much faith in him, a blind faith, that they're sitting around waiting for him to do something, and he knows he can't do anything. But he still barks like he's going to do something. In March of last year, he promised that he would, he made the announcement in March of last year that he had evidence that would result in indictments of people in the Obama administration over Benghazi. Now, as a former prosecutor, and as Gowdy says he was as well, I know that prosecutors don't make boasts of indictments unless they actually, do something about it. That's not something you will run around talking about. That is extremely negligent and irresponsible for a prosecutor. And yet here we are, a year later, and nothing. But what we don't realize is this. Gowdy made that announcement of indictments in March of last year. In December of last year, and an independent congressional committee on Benghazi, so there's more than one going on. That's another one we don't understand. Another Benghazi committee in the House declared an official report that found that there was no negligence on the part of the Obama administration, and that there was no intentional deceit on the hands of the Obama administration. An official House report in December contradicting everything that Gowdy promised in March.
That was from Representative King, if I remember right?
I don't remember. Mike, I don't remember. I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But the bottom line is this. We are now 4 months past that December committee report. And we have never heard anything from Gowdy about the original indictments that he promised or the fact that his own House cut off his legs. So he's going to run around and still make all these claims. And now all of a sudden, I guess maybe he feels himself backed into a corner, realizing he's not going to do anything. And now he's going to blame his inability to act on House rules and committees.
Yeah, that's what I found quite extraordinary. I was like, what do you mean the rules? And I think that was part of the gist of your letter was, what do you mean the rules? Because I saw some of the comments given to you that were raised against you. Going, I guess you don't know how the system's played, KrisAnne.
Yeah, well, I know how the system is. I'm not concerned